Hello and good morning. If it's morning for you, it's morning for me. And my name is Timothy Allen. I am the moderator for the Pennsylvania Natural Law Grand Jural Assembly. And that is a mouthful, but with purpose. The jural assemblies have been put back together in each of the 50 states for the purpose of um, bringing everything back to the soil at the land jurisdiction where it belongs. So, because I have received many emails over the last 10 months, um, today is February the 3rd, 2019. I haven't actually posted new videos since March of 2018, but I've received a lot of questions, and a lot of those questions are the same things over and over for me. So I have people asking me the same questions, and then I might be on the phone for an hour or 2 hours answering those same exact questions. Uh, so every month I end up answering the same questions over and over. So I wanted to do a video series to try to curtail some of those questions. So I put up a list. I had made a video earlier at about 5:30 in the morning, but it didn't do very well. I watched through it, and after about 15 or 20 minutes, my computer seems to start picking up on my my words. You can hear my words, but then my mouth speaks, and so that didn't go over very well for me. I felt like a Class B Japanese Godzilla movie, and so I'm going to try to make a series and try to keep the videos shorter, 15, 20 minutes at the most, and we'll work with it that way. So I made up a list. This is a partial list. Public versus private. So the name of the series will be Public versus Private, and then it'll be dash History 101, dash Bankruptcy, Join Your State Jural Assembly, how the Jural Assembly works, um, what the Jural Assembly does, for the people, for you. Um, how does the Assembly help the communities? And then there are various other subjects. So I would imagine that this series of public versus private could be, it could be 10 or 15 videos, really. I don't know how many it might be, and it's not going to be overnight. It'll be, um, maybe I'll try and do some. At the moment, maybe I'll try and do one or two each week and get them posted. So this being the first and the introductory uh, to private versus public or public versus private. Whenever we go to school, we must realize that the corporations that create the agenda for the schools are commercial, so they're public. We need to remain in the private. The reason that I'm saying this and the reason it's so important is because whenever you uh, move into the public, you lose your authority. And so that's going to be a problem. We must, we must, let me emphasize, must remain in the private. Now, what does that mean? As a man, I don't really like using the word domicile, but it is sort of appropriate. So you will be domiciled, if you will, on the soil of Pennsylvania. I'm not a resident of Pennsylvania. I'm not an inhabitant of Pennsylvania. I live on Pennsylvania. So I'm not of Pennsylvania. I'm not in Pennsylvania. I'm on Pennsylvania. So if I was dead and 6 feet under, I would be in Pennsylvania. But I'm not. I'm living on Pennsylvania. And that's very important. It's very important that we understand the procedures that we were never taught in school. So we have these corporate people who have basically taken over everything private. They can't take over everything private, but they want you to believe that they have. And so, with that, it's very important, again, that this series, Public versus Private, be really, really, really put into your brain that you must remain private. So let's give you some examples. You cannot vote in a corporate election. In 1795, I've explained this before, but in 1795, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that a corporation cannot talk to a living man because a corporation is dead. So dead people don't talk. It's like a rock cannot talk to me because I created the rock, or I created the stool, or I created the government, but they are dead. They're a dead entity. So they are in commerce. They're at the sea. And we are on the land. That's the public versus private. It's a matter of jurisdiction. When you enter into their jurisdiction, they have power over you. If you stay out of their jurisdiction, they have no power over you. So if you are a voter in their elections, then you are participating in their drama, and you will be a part of that drama. There are various ways of, how should I say, making certain that you stay on the soil at the land jurisdiction. One of the things that you do, you can find this on the website, PennsylvaniaAssembly.org. So, if you go to PennsylvaniaAssembly.org, you will find a heading for oaths of office. You will see there what I have done and what others have done. You go to your prothonotary, you get a copy of the oath of office, for example, of a judge. If you're going into court, you get a copy of their oath. You write over it. I'm not going to go into all the details, but you write over top of it in red. You use a byline, and I'm not going to explain that right now, but you use a byline to autograph. And you use that paperwork because what you're doing is holding them to their oath of office according to the Constitution. Because they don't have to do that. Unless you tell them that they are being held to the Constitution, they don't have to do it. That's one of the rules they don't tell you. Okay, so when I go to high school, I go to elementary school, secondary schools, even colleges, unless it is an actual law school, they don't teach you law. As a matter of fact, it is forbidden to teach law to high school students. Why? Because they don't want you to know the law. If you knew the law, you would realize that they're perpetrating fraud. And they don't want you to know that. So, a living man, must stay in the private. What does that mean? All right, so what is a man? That's the basic function. When I go into court, the first thing I say is, I am a man. I am not a corporation. Judge, do I look like a corporation to you? No, I'm a man. So why is that important? Because a man is a capacity. It's like a king is a capacity. An angel would be a capacity. I am an angel. I am a king. Well, I am a man. What that is, that's telling everyone that I am on the soil of Pennsylvania at the land jurisdiction. So, by being on the soil, on the land jurisdiction, I am a man. That means I'm not in their jurisdiction, which is commercial. Everything that they do is commercial or corporate. So at the sea, everything is corporate. So it is public. But it is not public law that they follow. It is actually private law that they follow because it's corporate. So all statute, rules, regulations, ordinances, and codes are actually private law that the corporation creates. So if you're outside of that corporation, they cannot hold you to those things. The only way that you can be held by that corporation is if you harm or injure somebody or something, and then you would be liable for whatever that might be. So this is the introduction to private versus public. You must remain private. It is of utmost importance that you learn, because I cannot teach you everything about remaining private. I probably can't teach you in 5 videos. There's a lot that you were never taught in school, and they have purposefully not taught you in school how to remain in the private. All right, so I'm going to, the most important thing that you can do, and let me put this right out there right now. The most important thing that you can do to remain in the private is to join your Joro Assembly. If you join your state Joro Assembly, that assembly, think about this, that assembly is a soil-based land jurisdiction assembly. I'm going to go through these things in the next videos. But you need to join your state Joro Assembly. You can use the contact page at pennsylvaniaassembly.org, and I will forward your email to the proper people, and they will contact you, and they will contact the people in your state. It's the easiest way that I know to do it. At this point in time, there's a website being put together. It's not quite together yet, or I would send you to that website. So at any rate, join your Joro Assembly, and I will be explaining the Joro Assemblies in more detail as we move along. So this is the end of video 1, and thank you for watching, and we'll go ahead and move on now to video 2.